Even the best of us can make costly mistakes, but some blunders have racked up jaw-dropping price tags. So let's explore the most expensive screw-ups in history, ones that might just make your own slip-ups seem trivial by comparison. A costly typo. Look, I'm no Wall Street expert. I'm just here to tell stories. But even the pros can mess up big time. Back in December 2005, Japanese brokerage firm Mizuho Securities learned this the hard way. They intended to sell one share of JCOM for 610,000 yen, about $5,000 at the time, on the Tokyo Stock Exchange during the company's public debut. But someone made a massive typo, listing 610,000 shares at 1 yen, each instead of one share at 610,000 yen. To make matters worse, the number of shares listed far exceeded what JCOM actually had available, yet the stock exchange processed the order. While the exchange didn't allow sales at 1 yen, shares still plummeted to as low as 572,000 yen. By the end of trading, Mizuho had lost a jaw-dropping 40.7 billion yen, roughly $336 million. They tried to sue the exchange for allowing such an obvious error, but the court only awarded them 10.7 billion yen. Mizuho's costly mistake is a reminder to double-check everything, especially when billions are at stake. A costly miscommunication. In the early hours of December 14, 2002, the MV Tricolor, a massive 55,000-ton, 627-foot car carrier, was navigating the foggy waters of the English Channel. Loaded with 2,871 luxury cars, it was en route from Zeebrugge to Southampton. But as it sailed through the dense fog, disaster was lurking nearby. The Kariba, a smaller vessel traveling alongside the Tricolor, suddenly veered off course. In a matter of moments, it collided with the Tricolor. The Kariba, though heavily damaged, managed to limp to port. But the Tricolor wasn't so lucky. It capsized in the shallow waters of the Channel. Miraculously, all 24 crew members on board the Tricolor evacuated safely, but the $100 million worth of luxury cars it carried weren't as fortunate. So, what led to this costly catastrophe? The two ships were navigating one of the busiest shipping lanes, and when a third vessel, the Clary, passed in front of them, chaos ensued. The Kariba sped up, attempting to overtake the Tricolor, while the Tricolor's helmsman had the same idea. The Clary, understaffed and unable to react quickly, added to the confusion. Incredibly, none of the ships used their foghorns or radios to communicate, leading to the Kariba ramming into the Tricolor. The aftermath was just as grim. The salvage operation, which took nearly a year and involved cutting the wreck into 9 sections, cost $40 million alone. Coupled with the loss of the luxury cars, the total damage amounted to a staggering $140 million. If there's one thing this disaster teaches, it's that miscommunication can have a heavy price, both literally and figuratively. Crab leg fiasco. In 2003, Red Lobster launched a bold all-you-can-eat snow crab promotion for $22.99, aiming to boost profits. Their internal math suggested this price, slightly above their regular buffet cost, would deliver tasty gains. However, they underestimated America's love for snow crab. Customers, eager to get their money's worth, devoured far more than expected. Instead of the anticipated 2 plates of crab, they gorged on more than double that amount. The situation was compounded by the labor-intensive process of eating crab, which kept diners at their tables longer and drove up the overall consumption. This spike in demand, combined with the expensive import cost of snow crab, meant Red Lobster faced soaring prices. To honor their promotion, they had to purchase crabs at increasingly high rates, leading to a staggering $3.3 million loss in just 1 quarter. The financial fallout didn't stop there. Wall Street analysts, noticing the misstep, downgraded Red Lobster's stock, erasing a hefty $400 million from the company's market value. A lesson learned the hard way: underestimating American appetites can lead to a costly seafood disaster. The Challenger disaster. January 28, 1986, was supposed to mark another milestone in space exploration as the U.S. Space Shuttle Challenger launched from Cape Canaveral. After several delays due to bad weather and technical issues, everything finally seemed to be in place. The 7 crew members were ready and all systems appeared normal. But just 73 seconds into the flight, disaster struck. The shuttle disintegrated into a cloud of smoke and debris, shocking millions of viewers who witnessed the first major shuttle catastrophe on live television. Tragically, there were no survivors. A special commission was formed to investigate the cause of the disaster, and the findings were chilling. The culprit, a set of rubber O-rings on the rocket boosters designed to prevent gas leaks, had failed due to the record low temperatures on the morning of the launch. These rings cracked shortly after liftoff, allowing pressurized gas to leak into the fuel tanks, leading to the catastrophic explosion. $135 million mistake. In 2003, Lockheed Martin Space Systems faced a staggering setback. NASA had commissioned the company to build the NOAA Prime Weather Satellite, a $233 million marvel packed with precision instruments. But as workers carefully moved the satellite into a horizontal position, catastrophe struck. The satellite toppled 3 feet to the ground, crushing its delicate systems. The damage was catastrophic, sparking an extensive investigation. It turned out that the mishap stemmed from a lack of procedural discipline. During the move, a technician had removed 24 crucial bolts from the turnover cart's adapter plate, but didn't bother to document the removal. The team using the cart didn't check these bolts before moving the satellite, leading to the costly disaster. The repair bills soared $135 million, forcing Lockheed Martin and NASA to dig deep into their pockets to cover the costs. If I were on the hook for that bill, I'd be feeling a bit shaky myself. A disaster years in the making. The Nanfangao Bridge in Taiwan was a vital link over the Nanfangao fishing port, standing as an arching giant for 20 years. But on October 1, 2019, catastrophe struck without warning. As an oil tanker made its way across the 460-foot-long bridge, the entire structure suddenly gave way, collapsing 60 feet into the waters below. The tanker, in a brief moment of horror, plummeted into the port, crushing 3 fishing boats under tons of steel and concrete, while trapping 500 more inside the harbor. The collapse claimed the lives of 6 fishermen and injured 10 others, but the true cost of this disaster was just beginning to unfold. With the bridge being relatively new, an investigation quickly followed. Initially, the blame was placed on the recent typhoon's wind and rain, but the real cause was far more insidious. Years of neglect had allowed rain and salt water to seep into the bridge's anchoring mechanisms, causing severe corrosion. Some steel cables were found to be only 22% functional, and shockingly, the bridge hadn't been inspected in over 4 years. Poor management and missed inspections led to this avoidable catastrophe. The government faced over $160,000 in compensation costs, and the price tag for a replacement bridge soared from $16.8 million to a staggering $29.3 million. Avoiding disasters like this should be a no-brainer. Just like it's a no-brainer to like this video and subscribe to our channel. The Cedar Fire Catastrophe. In October 2003, novice hunter Sergio Martinez found himself lost in Southern California's rugged terrain. In a desperate bid for rescue, he lit 2 small signal fires. What he didn't anticipate was that these fires would ignite a colossal wildfire, fueled by the fierce Santa Ana winds. The blaze roared across the hills at an alarming pace, consuming 3,600 acres per hour an area equivalent to more than 2,700 football fields every 60 minutes. By the time the inferno was finally contained on November 4th, it had ravaged over 273,000 acres, an expanse as vast as Hong Kong. The fire devastated 2,020 homes and buildings and tragically claimed 15 lives, making it one of the most destructive wildfires in California's history. Despite the massive destruction and over $1 billion in insurance claims, equivalent to about $1.7 billion today, Martinez received a comparatively light sentence of 6 months in a work furlough program and 960 hours of community service. Even if his own home was spared, he likely moved out of California pretty quickly. The lost fortune. Back in 2008, Bitcoin was just a digital curiosity, worth a mere 0.0008 cents per coin. Most people ignored it, but James Howells, an English IT enthusiast, saw its potential. He mined over 7,500 Bitcoins in their early days. By 2010, when Bitcoins were only worth 8 cents each, James stored the crucial access code on an external hard drive and forgot about it. Fast forward to 2013, and Bitcoin had started gaining traction. By April of that year, the value soared to $220 per coin, making James's once humble stash worth $1.65 million. Unfortunately, during a spring cleaning, James accidentally tossed the hard drive. As Bitcoin's value skyrocketed, so did James's regret. Desperate, he scoured local landfills and dump sites, but the drive remained elusive. The situation went from bad to worse when Bitcoin hit an astonishing $19,783 per coin in December 2017. That forgotten hard drive was now worth a staggering $148 million. Looking ahead to 2040, Bitcoin's price is predicted to climb to $2 million per coin, potentially valuing that lost hard drive at around $15 billion. If only James had a metal detector back then. The Tianjin tragedy. Late on the night of August 12, 2015, the city of Tianjin, China, was shaken to its core by a series of devastating explosions. These blasts were so powerful that they triggered earthquakes, registering between 2.3 and 2.9 on the Richter scale, and the explosions were visible from space. In an instant, shockwaves tore through the city, leaving nearly 200 people dead and countless others injured. But what sparked such a catastrophic event? It all began around 10:50 p.m., just 40 minutes before the explosions, when reports came in about a fire at a warehouse in the Binhai area. But this wasn't just any warehouse, it was a ticking time bomb. The facility housed thousands of tons of hazardous chemicals, including sodium cyanide, sodium nitrate, and potassium nitrate. Extremely volatile and highly explosive, these substances were a disaster waiting to happen. Tragically, safety regulations that required public buildings to be at least 1 kilometer away from such dangerous sites had been ignored. Locals had no idea they were living next to a potential death trap. To make matters worse, poor record-keeping meant that the warehouse operators didn't even know exactly what was stored there. As temperatures soared on that hot August day, the improperly stored chemicals ignited, unleashing explosions equivalent to more than 280 tons of TNT. The aftermath was devastating. Hundreds of buildings were destroyed, and approximately 26,000 brand-new cars from manufacturers like Renault, Volkswagen, Hyundai, and Kia were obliterated. In the end, 49 government officials and warehouse executives were jailed for their roles in ignoring safety rules that could have prevented this disaster. The Chinese government offered compensation to the families of those who lost their lives and promised to buy back damaged properties at 130% of their value. But the total cost of this tragic oversight, a staggering $10 billion. The lesson? When dealing with explosives, safety should never be compromised. The Beirut blast. Now let's take a trip back to 2020, to the heart of Beirut, Lebanon. On August 4th, a fire broke out in a warehouse at the city's port. What happened next would leave an entire nation reeling. Less than 20 minutes after the fire started, an explosion erupted that was nearly 5 times more powerful than the devastating Tianjin blast. The shockwave wasn't just felt in Beirut, it shook the entire country. The cause? A chillingly familiar story. The warehouse was storing over 3,000 tons of explosive ammonium nitrate. This dangerous cargo had been confiscated from a rogue ship over 6 years earlier and stored in Warehouse 12 at the port. Despite knowing the hazardous nature of the material, officials failed to store it properly, leaving a ticking time bomb in the middle of the city. It was a disaster waiting to happen. In 2020, when a fire ignited in the warehouse, the inevitable occurred. The ammonium nitrate exploded with the force of 1.1 kilotons of TNT, making it one of the most powerful non-nuclear explosions in history. The aftermath was apocalyptic. Nearby buildings were obliterated, cars were mangled, and 300,000 people were left without homes. The scale of destruction was beyond belief. Insurance losses alone reached $3 billion, with total economic damages estimated at over $15 billion. If there's one thing that should be crystal clear by now, it's this. When you're dealing with explosive materials, proper storage isn't just a suggestion, it's a necessity. How many more lives need to be lost before that lesson sinks in? Kobe catastrophe. Japan's relentless dance with tectonic forces is well known. With its position above 4 shifting plates, the island endures about 1,500 earthquakes each year. Since the 1700s, powerful quakes of magnitude 8.6 and higher have wreaked havoc, leveling cities and claiming lives. In response, Japan's city planners and engineers have worked tirelessly to fortify structures against these seismic threats. But on January 17, 1995, a sobering reality struck. At 5:46 a.m., a devastating 6.9 magnitude earthquake rocked western Japan's Hanshin region. In just 20 seconds, the city of Kobe was torn apart. Over 120,000 buildings were damaged, with half collapsing entirely. The Hanshin Expressway, a crucial link between Kobe and Osaka, didn't stand a chance. Its reinforced concrete pillars, weakened by outdated seismic standards from the 1960s, sheared off and sent sections of the expressway crashing down. The damage was staggering, estimated at $200 billion for the Hyogo Prefecture alone. The expressway had been slated for an upgrade, but the timing proved tragic. Today, Kobe has nearly recovered, but the disaster is a grim reminder of the necessity for up-to-date earthquake regulations. Deepwater Horizon. On April 20, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig, positioned 41 miles off Louisiana's coast, erupted in a catastrophic explosion. The blast claimed the lives of 11 workers, left 17 others injured, and marked the beginning of one of the worst environmental disasters in history. The real nightmare unfolded as oil began gushing into the Gulf of Mexico at a staggering 60,000 barrels a day, enough to fill almost 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools every single day. The tragedy was entirely avoidable. The rig, owned by Transocean and leased by BP, was stationed above an oil well buried 5,000 feet beneath the ocean and another 18,000 feet into the rock. BP, aiming to temporarily shut off the oil supply, hired Halliburton to seal the well using a nitrogen foam cement mix. But both companies knew the mix was unstable. Preliminary tests showed it didn't meet industry standards, yet they pushed forward. Predictably, the faulty cement failed, allowing oil and natural gas to leak through. When the emergency fail-safe above also malfunctioned, the oil surged up the rig riser and ignited in a deadly inferno, sinking the rig within 2 days. Cleanup efforts struggled for over 3 years, fighting the tides of black tar that flooded the Gulf. The financial toll on BP was monumental. The company initially set up a $20 billion compensation fund, but by the following year, costs had skyrocketed to $63 billion, covering cleanup, recovery, and legal battles. The US government didn't hold back either, imposing the largest financial penalty ever on a single company, $21 billion. Altogether, BP's negligence cost them a staggering $104 billion. So, which of these costly blunders do you think was the most devastating? And have you ever made a costly mistake that rivals these colossal errors? Drop your stories in the comments below. I'm eager to hear how your blunders measure up. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.